Hello, my name is Kevin Galvin, and I'm here with Obsidian C, a guitarist and songwriter and a singer in Keep of Kalessin. You just done your guitar clinic today at the Inferno Metal Festival. Your playing style is very unorthodox. I guess that's something you can see immediately. What is the general feedback you get from the audience or the people attending these clinics?
Well, I think that the feedback is pretty good. I think that a lot of our fans appreciate that you can actually sit down and watch the guitar playing close up when I'm doing these riffs and these songs. So I think the feedback is really good. It's something different than standing in the audience on a show, where it's really hard to see all the details on the guitar work. So I kind of like this, and not many people are doing extreme metal clinics. I'm not focusing too much on leads and that stuff. I'm focusing more on the extreme metal riffing style. So so I think feedback has been good, and looks like at least those people who are into Keep of Kalessin appreciate it a lot. So
Talking about your playing style, I remember when I heard Reclaim for the first time, X and Condemnation in these songs back in 2003 or 4. And I tried to figure out the parts in X and in Condemnation, especially the midsection. And I could not for the life of me make it sound right. I tried tremolo picking, I tried different types of alternating picking, but it didn't sound right. And then I went to your guitar clinic in Inferno Metal Festival in 2006. And so to use this special, what you call 2 down, 1 up technique. And then, I understood why. I couldn't think of that, of course. Why do you use that technique, and how long have you been using it? I mean, it's a strange thing to do, isn't it?
For me, it kind of developed over the years. So I became more and more aware of how I was playing. I think this technique is perfect because I play riffs where I do the rhythmic section and the lead at the same time. So when I'm picking the rhythmic section on the first 2 strokes and up picking the melodic parts, I think it's easier to reach across the strings and get those high notes and develop riffs around that. So I don't know. It's been something that I've developed over time. And nowadays I'm quite aware of what I'm doing, but in the early days it was just kind of happened by chance, I guess. But it gives a different feeling to it. And normally, like you mentioned, it's not easy to hear it maybe, but there is something about it that it doesn't just sound right if you play it the normal style. So I think it just adds a different character and a different feeling to those type of riffs. So I've been using that technique for at least since the Reclaim era. But we were actually going back and looking towards some of the older tracks now in the last couple of weeks. And I actually realized that I had developed a little bit of this technique on Through Times of War and Agnen as well, which was actually a surprise for me because I wasn't aware that I actually did it at the time. But so I guess it's kind of always been there. A lot of it is because I normally was rehearsing or playing and making riffs without an amplifier, which then gives the guitar a different character, so you hear the strings when you're playing. So I guess it's a little bit because I was never playing on an amplifier. I was playing electric guitar, but on guitar without the amp. So that kind of made this technique develop as I was doing all 6 strings and maybe making melodies in between the rhythmic sections. So.
And how long have you been playing guitar?
Well, I started playing guitar at a little bit around age 7. I'm 37 now, so about 30 years. But I've never been this guy who sits down and rehearse technique. I've always been playing in bands and stuff, so I have a good chemistry when I'm playing together with people. But I'm not this ultra technical guitar player. I have my own technique when it comes to riffing, but as far as leads go, I mean, there's I've never been focused on that stuff. I learn what I need to learn when I want to play it and when I hear the music that I want to create in my mind, and then I just learn if there's something I need to learn, and then just sit down and learn.
Yeah. And musical inspirations. When you started out, you probably had some guitars you looked up to, and that has probably maybe changed throughout the years.
A little bit. When I started playing, I actually started listening to Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits. Then I got into more heavy metal, and Slash was always a big idol for me. But I didn't have that many idols. I listened a lot to Guns N' Roses, so Slash was an influence, of course. And then Iron Maiden was, I was very influenced by Iron Maiden. So the biggest influences for me was Metallica, Iron Maiden, and Guns N' Roses. But it was more songwriting part. I've been more of a songwriter than maybe focused on being a guitarist. So I think the skills in those bands and what sets them really apart from all others was that they wrote really, really good songs. And they maybe not was the most virtuous guitar players out there in the 80s, but still they were definitely good enough. But I think that the character of those bands is, the strength of those bands is really the songwriting.
So I guess you don't have any daily practice routines because you don't like sitting down and playing arpeggios and stuff like that unless it fits the song you're going to make or you have in your head. But do you do anything in particular for warming up before going on stage?
No, actually not. I was playing in Satirical, and I remember that those guys were really strict about warming up and stuff. So once before a show, I sat down and I started warming up, and that was the first time my arm ever hurt. So I stopped doing that, and now I just I go on stage. Of course, I like to play, but sitting down and warming up and really focusing on that, it's not for me. I like to play, and everyone who plays something knows that when you get about like 40 or 45 minutes after sitting down playing, it starts to really, you get the flow going, right? So I like to play a little bit before I go on stage, or if you're in the studio, you need to play about an hour before you really start doing the tracks, I think. So especially when it's really fast stuff. But it's not like I sit down to warm up. I just sit down and play, and that's the warm up for me.
Yeah. So which Kalessin song do you enjoy playing the most?
Live?
Yeah, or either rehearsing or live.
I'd like the new tracks. I like playing the Grand Design. I think that song is one of my personal favorites on the album, so I enjoy that, playing that live, and also Dark Divinity. It's really cool song. It has a lot of thrash metal elements, and one of my favorite riffs from the new album is on that song, so I think that's a cool song to play.
And which one is the most challenging? You talked about the Grand Design earlier, which is very intense on the right hand, but which one is the most challenging Keep of Kalessin song to play?
Well, it's, one thing is playing the guitar, but now that I'm a singer, it's actually some of the slower songs. I think actually Introspection is one of the most challenging songs on guitar and vocals, because the guitar riffing is very off compared to the vocals. So Introspection and maybe even Darkest Winter's Night is actually one of the tricky ones.
Okay.
But that is due to the fact that I'm now singing and playing at the same time. So it's I don't know. It's there's a lot of. It's not really a song, but the riffs here and there. I think that is tricky. But so yeah, I don't know. It's grab design is one of them that is really heavy on the right hand. Slower songs are more difficult to play and sing.
I guess you probably hear mistakes easier with slower songs as well. You have some YouTube videos where you play, I think it's Ascendant and Crown of Kings and Colossus, I think. Have you planned on making more videos like that, where you can see what you actually do on the guitar?
Yes, I was actually thinking about doing a series, but it's like it takes time to produce videos, even though it's just with your mobile phone or whatever. But I was thinking about doing a little bit of series now when I get time to do it, where I do some riffs and maybe have feedback from the fans on Facebook or whatever, so they can actually let me know what type of riffs they want me to show them. So we can bring on the community, and because I started getting some requests from people that asked if I could do a video for them on how I actually play the riffs. So I think that that could be a cool thing, to do a series where I just ask the audience or the community on Facebook or social media, and then do the riffs that they ask.
You have a new album out, Epistemology, and it's, I guess, one of the most, or if not the most diverse Kalessin album out to date. And on the title track there, you have a lot of different musical influences. It sounds like you start off with thrash metal and blast beats, and you go to clean vocals, and you go to this frigid, dominant, exotic feel, and to this quiet Pink Floydish parts, and then to this more Rammsteinish solo stuff, and then to this extremely cheesy but very cool ending, power metal ending. So it begs the question, really, what limits, if any, do you put to yourself when it comes to which kind of riffs you can put into a Keep of Kalessin song?
It's about the song and the atmosphere and the idea about the song. Epistemology title track is a very special song. First half is more extreme, and the second half is more more bluesy sometimes in regards to leads and stuff. I just think that for this song I had this idea on like this ending of the album should be really big, cheesy, as you know, but very melodic, and I don't have any limits. As long as I think it sounds good, I can put it into the song. But of course, each song has its own limits. So even though I don't have limits, there are certain boundaries within the song, because I don't want to jump from one thing to a totally different thing without it actually fitting together. So normally I think of a song as a whole song, and don't think of parts and riffs. So normally when you hear our songs, even though we do maybe extreme parts and then slower stuff, you can actually hear that the slower parts are connected in some way in tonal works, or if it's regards to the riffing itself. Sometimes we actually do the riffs just with slower drums. Yeah. So I think that's the same for Epistemology as well. It's the riffs are connected, even though we kind of tone down the drums and do the drums and the production slower at the beginning of the song.
And also when it comes to writing songs, writing riffs, or albums for that matter, do you sit down and just start jamming and see where the music takes you, and which riffs you come up with, or do you sort of start off with a plan about how the album is going to sound like before you start writing?
It's a lot of different approaches. More of the thrashy stuff comes from just jamming and making up riffs, and then you get a riff that is cool, you maybe develop that and write a couple of other riffs in the same vein of that. But I think that the more epic and the more melodic stuff that we do comes from me either developing stuff that I have been working on and starting developing it in my mind, and also from just daydreaming and thinking about music, and then I start adding keyboards and leads on guitar and even vocals and everything. So the big epic and melodic stuff comes from I create that in my mind first, and then I start recording or something. and then the more thrashy stuff comes from just jamming and playing guitar and just seeing where I can go with that.
And on latest album you also sing as well as playing guitar. And you probably get this question all the time. Do you need to simplify riffs when you write music, or do you write easier music in order for this to work, since you're now doing the vocals as well?
Not really. Actually, the new album is by far the most tricky guitar-wise. The riffs on the new album is more complex when it comes to singing at the same time. So it's actually the opposite. Like I mentioned, Introspection is one of the most tricky songs to play and sing live, and that was the first song we did with me as a singer. So yeah, it's the quite opposite. I would normally write the riffs and the music first anyway. So and then I add the vocals, and we work a lot, experiment a little bit with vocals. So definitely not. It's not like I'm softening down the guitar riffs just to be able to sing and play at the same time. It's actually the opposite.
And talking about lyrics, do you start writing those after the whole album is complete, or do you do that for each song as you make them?
Normally we write the lyrics after. We do the whole production, we produce the entire album, and then me, Isaac, and Leo sit down. We kind of gather this huge pile of lyrics and words and phrases, and then we start arranging that and also putting it together in something that actually makes sense in each individual song. So it's we do. That's the last thing we do: arrange the lyrics and vocals. Normally we do all the music first and then add the lyrics and vocals last.
And about the actual lyrics themselves, in the past you have been singing about this huge war going on, and about dragons and ascension and stuff like that, but also some underlying themes regarding religious stuff and sometimes misanthropic stuff, I guess. But on this album, obviously with album title Epistemology and the song title Introspection, we have a more philosophical theme. Why is that?
I felt it was time for the band to kind of take the next step. It was just a natural development for the band. We are very interested and inspired by science, knowledge, and a little bit of introspective, looking inside your own psyche and philosophy and those kind of stuff. So it was a very natural step for us, I think, to do a more real album with a more real album title. But the title in itself it's still kind of elusive, right? So I think that the title fits very well, and I think that the whole atmosphere of the album is more universal and cosmic than it has been before, which I really like myself. So I think it's a more mature album when it regards to both music and lyrics.
And the songs are very, very complex. A lot of them are extremely difficult to play, I imagine. So how often do you rehearse in order to play the songs?
We should probably rehearse more than what we do. I think that we rehearse 3 or 4 hours before a tour, and then we just head out. But we've been doing so many shows. I mean, when you do this many shows, it's normal when you have some new songs that you need to rehearse a little bit more. But normally it's just rehearsing before the tour or something. We go straight into the studio and record as well. Almost no rehearsal before actually recording the album either. We kind of develop the riffs. So since I'm recording at home, I can sit down. I'm writing and recording the riffs at the same time almost. And then we just head out and do drums in the studio, and it's very easy nowadays. You just Will has heard the songs a couple of times before he was into the studio, but normally just like, yeah, loudspeakers here, this type of beat there, do the double bass here, like, and then you just record it on the fly.
Yeah, you talked about that you record on the fly now while you actually make the songs at home, and the new album, it sounds very, very good, and I was surprised to learn that you only use Axe-Fx for it. You didn't really use any amplifiers at all.
No. I did the Axe-Fx now. I do one channel with the distorted sound, kind of the amplifier wants, and then I do a clean signal, so we have backup if you want to reamp wherever during the mix. But actually on this album, Stamos, who mixed the album, he just said that no, he just threw away the clean signal. So he used the Axe-Fx, and it's 100% Axe-Fx on the whole album.
Any plans on making a live DVD?
Yes, we actually have been talking about it and thinking about it for a long time, but we kind of need to find the correct show. I want, when we start doing a live DVD, I want it to be a kind of big show. I want the DVD to portray Keep of Kalessin as I see it in my mind. And normally the shows we do are a little bit smaller than the mission of the band and how we really want to see it in the live situation. But we have some really interesting shows coming up now, so maybe we'll get around to doing that this year. We have some material from like when we did Inferno Metal Fest as well. We have some material from that lying around, but I was actually talking to the producer yesterday, and he said that it looked really good, so I'm going to check it out maybe next week or the week after to see if it's good enough to maybe release a whole DVD or just put one or two songs in some collection or something.
Yeah. And also another thing I heard which I also got when hearing their first album or the new album for the first time is the thing I usually get when listening to new albums from my favorite bands, is that I was initially a bit disappointed because I had these high expectations, and also, maybe worst of all, my own mental image of what the album was going to sound like. So the first time I was like, oh, is this it? Is this all? But third, fourth, fifth time it really started to make sense, and now I love it. Do you get that a lot from fans? And do you have the same with yourself with bands you like?
Yeah, I actually have the same with the bands I like, but I'm quite aware of it. So whenever there's a band that I like that puts out a new album, I give them the benefit of the doubt and really listen, like you say, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 times. And I found that the best albums, the albums that I totally fall in love with, are the albums that really your brain can decipher after around 10 listens. So I mean, it's with that. It's like that with the. If it's too easy to get into, I think it's also very fast to forget about this album. But if you actually need to spend a little bit more time on this album, I think that it's well worth your time. So I prefer music like that, and that's why I write music like that.
Yeah. Okay, I think we have to wrap up here. Any final things you want to add?
No, just thanks for the interview, and hope our fans around the world to check out the new album if you haven't heard it, and see you guys on tour.